How are you all? Good? Yeah? Okay, hi. My name's McKendrick. I'm from the co-op. I'm head of data, so kind of do a little bit similar job to the job that Caroline, who was talking yesterday, talks about. So I work with engineers and with people looking after the data from a point of view of ethics and security. Many of you, if you're from the UK, will have heard of the co-op. Probably people have gone there for their shopping. Maybe they remember their grandparents going to the co-op. The co-op's been around since 1844. These guys here that look a bit like hipsters from Shoreditch are actually the Rochdale pioneers. So back in 1844, they got together and decided that the way business in the UK was exploiting workers and not putting things back into the workers' hands and into communities' hands wasn't the way they wanted to see the world. So they set up a cooperative to give back something to ordinary folk, both from a working perspective, but also from a point of view of the communities. So they wanted business to be socially responsible, give back, and share some wealth. Part of that disruption that the cooperative put in place back in those days grew. Co-op also had its own farms, had its own factories, had ships that sailed the world picking up tea from India, built its own radios when people said we weren't allowed to discount radios to our members. And obviously a lot of people remember the fact that the co-op dividend and the co-op Green Shield stamps was a way of everybody sharing in what they were putting in and how they were using the co-op. But the co-op's living in a world where we've got massive tech disruption happening. So we've got, here's a photograph of an Amazon Go shop. So you guys that are aware of this will know that Amazon are trialing things like CCTV, tracking people's phones, shopping in the aisle, doing a shopping and just walking straight out. And we know that tech's disrupting the high street all the time, and we can see this coming and going to impact us from a point of view of our convenience stores. So therefore, co-op's got to continue to innovate. So over the past 2 years, we've really started looking at how we can change the way we serve our members, looking at different ways of using technology. Some of those things are in trials at the moment, and they're things that we have we're looking at from a really far point of view. So things such as a trial we've currently got going in Milton Keynes with 1,000 self-driving, autonomous delivery, little scootery things, little ice boxes on wheels. They're delivering about 300 shopping trips a week at the moment. We're also going to be trialing our own pay in aisle and looking at other kind of technology we can use in the store, such as AI for headset recognition, so our colleagues can understand stock, understand when many people are coming into the store and react to it via a headset. And we're also looking at ways of innovating with moving into new markets in terms of local e-commerce, supporting local enterprise, and also looking at things such as prescriptions and pharmacy. All of that innovation that we're currently experiencing from a non-data point of view is obviously going to have massive impact on us from a data perspective. So what we've really got to do is start leveraging data to support understanding what people want from products, what people need to do, and how we can make those products better for our customers, members, and our communities. So we've had to put in place a new data vision. We've had to look at trust and ethics and how co-op as an organization wants to look at data and lean into the kind of ethical dilemmas that we're currently seeing in data and privacy. And also we've got to look at new technology and using machine learning. So I'll talk a little bit about those 4 things now. So the first thing was we started with a brand new vision for data across the whole co-op. And you'll see that the first thing we put into this was we wanted to be completely trusted with the way we use data. And that's not just because we have an ethical body as part of what we do where we have to explain the things, but also because we know the data we have isn't co-op data, it's our members' data, and our members are our shareholders. So actually there's a really good cyclical feedback there, as if our members are happy that we use their data to look for new products, then they'll benefit, not only from the point of view of they'll get better service, but also because actually they own the co-op. And that's why we've got to create value for both customers and members, but also we want to start using data for working in our local communities and give something back from that perspective. We talked a lot publicly with our members, with our member council, with customers about data and ethics. Back last year at our AGM, we held an event where we got together a set of people from anybody who was interested could come to the co-op. We held a presentation by a lady there who's Jenny Tennyson. She's from the Open Data Institute. And then we ran some workshops which we tried to make fun. It's data, but we gave it a good go. We played some games. We called one of them the Trustometer, where we laid out on the wall a big line from would you trust these guys with your data, would you not trust these guys with the data? And we gave people little stickers with different company logos on them from media, radio, finance, telco, and the co-op, and asked people to put whereabouts they think they trust those organizations with the way they use data. We also played Play Your Consent Right, where we talked about different types of use cases and asked people would they be happy with their pet food purchasing data maybe being used to help them with choosing better insurance products, and people put up yes or no, or maybe they wanted to share their health data with the co-op so we knew a little bit more about them. And having done those things, we've really found that there is no one-size-fits-all for everybody. No one person in this audience feels the same about every item of their data. So we know that we can't just kind of overlay trust and ethics as a kind of a thin veneer on what we've got to do. We've got to really build a brand new, modern, and agile data ecosystem that allows us to capture, store, and use data. Historically, the co-op has been very siloed, so we've had kind of lots of traditional tech stacks. Probably a lot of you guys will have heard some things like Teradata and SQL Server and things like data centers. So we've got all of that at the co-op. So what we wanted to do is to move to a situation where we had a brand new ecosystem, it's in the cloud, and we've got data in such a way that we've embedded the trust and ethics into the data and into how we provide it to people, but also that we can share tools. So we have guys in our insurance business who have different data and different tools to guys in the food business, and different data and different tools to guys who help with the funeral care business. If we want to do anything that looks across the piece or share knowledge, they kind of talk about the fact that, hey, we built a model that did this, or we built a model that did that. But they couldn't really share the code, and they weren't operating in the same environment. They're in different buildings or in different networks, some of them, so it's really difficult. So what we really want to do is to enable us to work at a bigger scale by unifying their experience across the data sets, but also across the tooling they were using. We also wanted to accelerate our machine learning capabilities. And this is a really tricky one because I saw KK earlier on, and he had a slide that's like, it's got every tool on there. We did not have every tool. We had just a few tools, kind of the tools everybody was kind of used to. We had a few people working in Python, but that was kind of like as far as we got. We had a cloud strategy, but we started being the first people to move into that. So we really had kind of data analysts and data scientists who didn't have all of the maybe technical expertise that I'm sure a lot of you guys have got. We didn't have a blend of DevOps in data teams. So it's really difficult for us to get started. And one of the things that happened was the Microsoft guys, Steve and Fard, came to us and said, look, we're doing some work with Databricks, you should look at it. And we looked at it and we thought, this is so easy that we can bring together our data engineers, our SQL experts, our Python experts, our R experts, and bring them together on one platform. So what we decided to do was to trial that with our first use case, which is personalization. So currently, if you go to one of our stores, we do personalized coupons. So if you're one of the people that buy something and you don't use the self-checkout and you ask for your receipt, you're going to get a coupon. And I guess some of you would look at that coupon and maybe put it in your pocket and think, I'm definitely going to use that some other time. Some of you, not so much. But we found that in personalizing just those coupons, there's been a massive uptake in how people use them, in the feedback we're getting that they're really useful. So what we want to do is move that to digital, where people can go online, select which coupons they want to use, maybe go onto an app and select those, and then preload them onto their membership account. So when they next go into the store, they get a discount, or they get 2 for 1, or they get something back for their community. In order to implement this personalization, we've obviously got to be a lot more relevant, got to be a lot more agile. It's going to take a lot more modeling of our data. So whereas we've built models before that have looked at things like product affinity, availability, we've really got to go from a position of doing it at a kind of, wide scale, not very reactive, into, hey, what about if we know that a certain product is really moving well and we want to incentivize other people to pick products that are adjacent to that? How do we go about doing that? How do we make that reactive? And of course, the way to do that is to make the data available to people, but also to make our models much more fine-grained, looking at all missions, all stores. So we chose to work with the guys at Databricks. I don't know if they've let Joe, the trainer, come today, but Joe came over from the States, came over to visit us in Manchester, sat down with us for a week, taught us about machine learning in Spark, which we'd never done before. We had people doing machine learning in SAS or R. Talked to us for the first time about machine learning in Spark, sat down with the guys. We're not very imaginative sometimes at the come up with names. We've got at least 2 Tims in this photograph, 2 Alexes, a couple of Michaels, got an Amy. But we brought them together. And we brought together not only the data scientists, but also the data engineers, and also the cloud platform engineers, who for the first time realized why we wanted them to start spinning up clusters or copying data across. We got going really quickly after that training. The next big hurdle, obviously, was getting the data into an environment, because we didn't have a cloud-based data lake. But Michael had been on the course, so he knew what we were trying to do, so we helped with firewalls and getting data from our on-prem servers into our secure Azure blob storage. And then we got going, translating some of our existing algorithms, some of our existing work into Databricks. So basically, for every product, every member, every store, every basket, we're looking at how to bring that together into some kind of visualization, some data set that tells us about product affinity, because that's the first step towards getting better recommendation engines, better understanding of what people wanted. And obviously that data set was massive, and to do it at this scale for 2 years of data was something we only did once in a while, because it just took so long to set up the experiment. We kind of had one shot, took a while to run, and then we just had to implement it straight away. So we did this in Azure, transferred our data to blob storage, wrote some SQL to do some feature extraction, took some Python work we'd done before, translated it onto Databricks, produced some graphs. At the end of it, we've got 400 million combinations now of products, how substitutable and how similar they are. And you can think of it as things like, here would be the bakery section, where croissants are very highly correlated with pain au chocolat, but they're different from, say, rolls and baguettes. And in the past, we've done this at kind of that section level, but now we're able to do it at a complete store level and look at, well, you know what, if we ran out of fresh peas, do people go and buy frozen peas? Before, we just looked at the fresh section by itself. So now we're able to look at the whole thing. We've got, and for this, we're now able to go and use this data into the next set of machine learning algorithms, because we're starting to look at, okay, what does this tell us about the types of products people want to buy? So we've been looking at things like alternating least squares regression, we're looking at neural networks, we're looking at different techniques to use that data and to look at other things such as recommendation. We've also got some of our other teams using Databricks now. We're just letting them use clusters, letting them spin up different things. So we're looking at people in insurance and other parts of the co-op logistics analytics team. And all of this has been like a massive learning curve from us, from a bunch of people who really didn't have much experience of kind of modern tooling that you guys are familiar with. We've really gone to, actually now we've got people happily sitting down and going, I've finished doing my work over here, I can go and take this and do some work in Databricks. Our digital offers trial goes live very soon. I think it's next week. We write about all of our digital things on our digital blog, so you can see what we're doing there around user design, the trial, data and ethics. I'd just like to say thank you to the teams in our co-op retail insight team, to our data science team, data engineering, platform engineering team, the Databricks guys, Joe who came over, Matt, Barathu and Wayne who helped get me here today, and also Steve and Farr and the other guys from Microsoft who actually were the guys that told us to go on this journey. So thank you very much. Thank you.